Welcome to this insightful session designed for aspiring UX researchers. In today's competitive digital landscape, UX research plays a critical role in shaping user-centric products by bridging the gap between user needs and product goals. The questions we're going to explore will give you a strong grasp of the expectations companies have for this role and equip you with the clarity needed to shine in your interviews. Each question reflects a real-world scenario or concept you may encounter on the job. Whether you're just stepping into the world of user experience or aiming to sharpen your understanding, this guide will help you think critically about research methodologies, user behavior, stakeholder engagement, and actionable insights. Let's dive into the top 10 interview questions and answers for a UX researcher role. 1. How do you approach a new UX research project from start to finish? When beginning a new UX research project, it's essential to align on goals and clarify what the team hopes to learn. I start by holding stakeholder interviews to define research objectives and ensure the study addresses relevant business and user needs. After confirming the project scope, I select appropriate research methods, such as user interviews, surveys, usability testing, or ethnographic studies, based on the stage of product development. Planning includes drafting research protocols, consent forms, and participant screening criteria. Once approved, I recruit participants and conduct the research sessions, making detailed notes or recordings for analysis. The next phase involves synthesizing data through thematic analysis or affinity mapping to identify patterns and insights. These findings are compiled into a report or presentation that highlights key user behaviors, pain points, and opportunities. I then collaborate with designers, product managers, and developers to ensure the research findings directly inform product decisions. Post-implementation, I often revisit the study's goals and measure the impact of recommended changes. This cyclical approach ensures that UX research continuously evolves alongside user needs and business goals. Managing expectations, adapting to constraints, and communicating insights clearly are vital to the success of each research project. 2. What research methods do you use most frequently and why? The methods I use most frequently depend on the project's goals, timeline, and product maturity. However, I consistently rely on a mix of qualitative and quantitative approaches to build a holistic understanding. In early-stage discovery, I often use user interviews and field studies to gather in-depth insights into behaviors, motivations, and pain points. These methods allow for open-ended exploration and help uncover unmet needs. When validating concepts or refining features, I shift to usability testing, both moderated and unmoderated, to observe real-time interactions and pinpoint friction. Surveys are another commonly used method to gather statistically significant data or measure satisfaction metrics like Net Promoter Score, NPS, or SUS. In some cases, I conduct card sorting or tree testing to evaluate information architecture. I also utilize analytics tools to track user behavior patterns and conversion funnels, especially when assessing live digital products. The choice of methods is always guided by research questions and constraints. Mixed methods research is particularly powerful because it combines the why and the what, allowing teams to make more confident, evidence-based decisions. My goal is to match the method to the problem, keeping users at the center while ensuring feasibility within the business context. This balance drives actionable insights and better design outcomes. 3. How do you collaborate with designers, product managers, and engineers? Effective collaboration is essential in UX research, as the impact of insights is only realized when they influence product decisions. I initiate collaboration early by involving cross-functional team members during the planning stage. This helps align on research objectives and ensures that every team member's concerns or hypotheses are addressed. I maintain frequent communication with product managers to understand feature roadmaps, business KPIs, and development timelines. With designers, I co-create research plans and ideate on prototypes for usability testing, often iterating quickly based on preliminary findings. Engineers are also crucial partners, especially when integrating analytics tools, setting up test environments, or understanding technical constraints that might affect user experience. I frequently conduct research readouts and workshops where insights are shared visually and interactively to engage the team. Using storytelling, persona development, and journey mapping, I ensure the research feels relatable and drives empathy. Collaboration doesn't stop after the study ends. I stay involved during implementation to provide ongoing context and support for decisions. When everyone is involved from the start, research has a greater chance of shaping the product in meaningful ways. Cross-functional trust and open feedback loops are key components of my collaborative approach. 4. How do you ensure your research is unbiased and reliable? Minimizing bias and enhancing reliability are core to producing credible UX research. First, I define clear, neutral research objectives and ensure that questions avoid leading language or assumptions. During interviews or usability testing, I use open-ended questions and avoid verbal or nonverbal cues that may influence responses. I also pilot test my studies with a few participants before full rollout to identify any potential biases in phrasing or structure. Sampling diversity is another important factor. I recruit participants representing varied demographics, behaviors, and usage levels to capture a wide spectrum of user experiences. I triangulate data using multiple methods to confirm patterns across sources. For example, qualitative findings from interviews are cross-validated with behavioral data from analytics or survey responses. I also document all steps of the research process transparently so that results are reproducible. Peer reviews and collaborative synthesis sessions help catch subjective interpretations and validate conclusions. Finally, I remain reflexive throughout the process, regularly questioning how my own assumptions might influence analysis. By combining methodological rigor, inclusive sampling, and cross-checking, I ensure that my research is trustworthy and truly reflective of user needs, helping the team make informed, unbiased design decisions. 5. Can you describe a time when research changed the direction of a product? One impactful example occurred when I was researching a new onboarding flow for a financial services app. The initial design was focused heavily on speed, minimizing steps to get users through the process quickly. However, during usability testing with target users, I noticed that while the interface was fast, users expressed anxiety over not understanding key steps related to data privacy and account security. Many dropped off or hesitated to proceed. I synthesized these findings and presented a compelling narrative showing that the minimal onboarding actually reduced trust rather than increased engagement. I recommended adding short, clear explanations and visual reassurance throughout the process. Although this slightly lengthened the onboarding flow, it significantly boosted user confidence. After the changes were implemented, we saw a 20% increase in completed signups and a 35% drop in early churn. This example illustrates how research can shift focus from internal assumptions, like speed equals efficiency, to more meaningful outcomes rooted in user behavior and perception. It also demonstrated the value of involving users early in the design phase. The team became more invested in ongoing research, realizing its power to drive both user satisfaction and business success. 6. How do you prioritize research when there are time or resource constraints? When time or resources are limited, I prioritize research by focusing on the most critical questions that could impact product success. I start by collaborating with stakeholders to identify high-risk assumptions, what we're unsure about, and what could cause failure if incorrect. Then, I define the minimum viable research needed to address those areas. This might mean running a lean usability test with 5 participants instead of a full-scale study or using remote tools to save time and cost. I choose rapid, high-yield methods like guerrilla testing, heuristic evaluations, or quick surveys, depending on the context. I also use existing data sources, such as customer support logs, analytics, or previous research findings, to fill in knowledge gaps efficiently. Throughout this process, I communicate clearly about trade-offs and the level of confidence our chosen methods will provide. Prioritization isn't just about speed. It's about making the smartest use of limited bandwidth to inform decisions that matter most. By focusing on high-impact insights and staying flexible, I ensure that research continues to add value even under tight constraints. Often, these focused efforts build momentum and demonstrate the importance of research, leading to better resourcing in future cycles. 7. What role does accessibility play in your UX research process? Accessibility is a vital part of inclusive design and must be integrated into UX research from the beginning. I ensure accessibility by actively including participants with disabilities in research studies. This means recruiting individuals who use assistive technologies like screen readers or keyboard navigation, and considering a range of visual, auditory, motor, and cognitive abilities. I design research materials to be accessible, providing transcripts, readable fonts, high-contrast visuals, and compatibility with screen readers. During usability testing, I observe how participants interact with products using their specific tools and note any barriers they face. I also assess whether the product meets Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, WCAG, and collaborate with designers to implement accessible design principles. Findings related to accessibility are always included in my reports and treated with the same urgency as other usability issues. Accessibility is not just a compliance checkbox. It reflects the product's usability for all. By embedding accessibility into research, I advocate for equity and ensure that products serve the full spectrum of users. Making inclusive decisions from the research phase leads to better, more universally usable products and demonstrates a commitment to ethical, responsible design. 8. How do you present complex research findings to non-technical stakeholders? Translating complex research into clear, actionable insights is one of the most important aspects of my role. To communicate effectively with non-technical stakeholders, I focus on storytelling, visual aids, and clarity. I begin with a brief summary of key findings and why they matter to the business. I avoid jargon and instead use relatable language that connects research outcomes to stakeholder goals, such as increasing conversions or improving customer satisfaction. I use visuals like charts, journey maps, personas, and video clips from user sessions to bring findings to life and build empathy. During presentations, I structure content around user needs, pain points, and opportunities rather than technical details. I often end with clear, prioritized recommendations tied directly to business outcomes. When possible, I hold collaborative workshops or design sprints where stakeholders can engage with the findings firsthand. This active participation builds buy-in and encourages discussion. I also provide follow-up documentation that is concise, scannable, and includes summaries for executive audiences. My goal is not just to inform, but to inspire action. By making research findings accessible and emotionally resonant, I ensure they drive meaningful product improvements. 9. How do you stay updated on UX research trends and best practices? Staying current with UX research trends is essential to remain effective and innovative. I regularly follow industry blogs and publications such as Nielsen Norman Group, UX Collective, Smashing Magazine, and A List Apart. I also subscribe to UX newsletters and join webinars and virtual conferences where thought leaders share new tools and methodologies. I'm active in UX communities on LinkedIn, Reddit, and Slack groups, where professionals exchange ideas, case studies, and resources. Books like Observing the User Experience and Think Like a UX Researcher provide deep dives into evolving practices. I experiment with new tools like Maze, Optimal Workshop, and look back to stay familiar with modern platforms. Participating in meetups and mentoring junior researchers also keeps my skills sharp through discussion and feedback. I take online courses periodically to build skills in related areas like data visualization, accessibility, or behavioral psychology. Continuous learning ensures that I adapt my approach to new contexts and bring fresh perspectives to my team. By combining real-world practice with learning from experts, I stay ahead in delivering research that is both rigorous and relevant. 10. What metrics do you use to measure the success of your UX research? Success in UX research is measured by both the quality of insights and their impact on product decisions. I track a combination of process metrics and outcome metrics. On the process side, I consider participation rates, diversity of users, clarity of research goals, and stakeholder engagement. After delivery, I assess whether the findings were used. Did the team incorporate recommendations into design, or were decisions changed based on insights? This indicates that research was actionable. On the product side, I collaborate with analytics teams to track behavioral outcomes like task completion rates, drop-offs, and user retention after design changes. Metrics such as System Usability Scale, SUS, scores, or Net Promoter Score, NPS, Before and after iterations provide quantifiable feedback. I also gather qualitative feedback through follow-up interviews or support channels to understand user satisfaction and experience improvements. Internal feedback from designers and PMS about the usefulness of the research is another important metric. Ultimately, the success of UX research is not just about conducting a study but ensuring it drives better decisions, improves the user experience, and supports business goals in measurable ways. These top UX researcher interview questions and answers highlight the depth of knowledge, communication skill, and user-centered mindset required for this critical role. Mastering them will help you stand out in any interview setting.